All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our podcast series where we talk to people from all over the world to find out what it's like to learn English in their country. And before we get started, everybody, please make sure you're subscribing to our channel. So click that subscribe button and also click the bell and select all. And that way you won't miss any of our future videos. All right, and without further ado, let's say hello to my guest today. His name is Danny, and he is from the Netherlands. Danny, how are you?
Oh, so far I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, of course. And hopefully it's going to be a nice conversation and some information around the world how we learn and teach English, of course.
All right, I'm looking forward to hearing about how you guys learn English in the Netherlands because Scandinavia in general is well known to have a very high level of English proficiency for a country where English isn't the first language. So, how do you guys encounter English as a kid? Like, when was the first time you encountered English?
Well, when I was younger, I encountered English because we have we watched a lot of 80s cartoons like the Transformers and there's a big gap in that. There's also Mapletown and all those kind of cartoons that we watched, and those were all in English. And we watched it on an English channel, so there were no subtitles.
Uh,
So we had to learn it from. He's holding a flower, and it calls somebody calls it a flower. So, oh, that's a flower. So it's a little bit. It's harder to learn English in the 80s than you have to do right now because children can do it from the internet every day. So that's the first thing that you learn from the TV.
so on so on TV, they would just show these cartoons in English. You said no subtitles, and that's it. That's how. That's how.
Yeah, that's because it was an English channel, so
Oh,
since it's a little bit strange that they put Dutch subtitles under it, but
mhm.
yeah, that's the reason why. And in the further days, like in the 90s, they started to show the cartoons first in English with the Dutch subtitles beneath them, so it became a little bit easier to learn.
Mhm.
But we did it the hard way in the 80s. But after that, it became a problem because they were narrating the audio to Dutch suddenly. So you see like a big dip in the knowledge about around the English language when they started doing that. So you have a lot of countries that dub their movies into another in their own language,
Yeah,
and you see that those people have more difficulty to speak English to.
that's
Uh,
true.
yeah,
I mean, for you,
that's a big problem.
right? Because you had no choice. If you wanted to understand and enjoy the cartoon, somehow you're gonna learn English, which is good because sometimes you just need to dive right into the deep side of the pool, right? Just get right in there.
Yeah, and as a kid, of course, it's a cartoon. You know, it's in every cartoon. If it's drawn, then it's okay by me. I just wanted to see moving pictures instead of an adult movie and not the adult movie what people are thinking about right now. I don't know what they're thinking about, but I
Yes.
mean, you just
Subtitle.
the action movies.
So, what was I going to ask you? Oh, so obviously English is seen as an important language in your country, in the Netherlands.
Yeah, it actually is because there's a small amount of people around the world that speak our language. So at some point you have to be realistic and you have to pick.
Uh,
Yeah, and the international languages, of course, is English, and the trading languages that as well. So yeah, it's really important, and a lot of students around the world come to the Netherlands now to yeah, do their study here, and they also can do it in English. Uh, a lot of lessons are in English here right now, so it's a big thing. It keeps on progressing.
so, as a kid, let's say you're in first grade or whatever, are you guys already learning English in school?
Well, when I was younger, we started English around, and that's what you call the fourth grade. So, oh no, it's the eighth grade. Sorry, it goes the other way around. That's when we started to learn the small things about English. It's like how you say me, how do you say a dog, and those kind of things. And then it progresses into more difficult English. But that was in my when I was learning English. I learned this kind of English, this fast speaking English. I learned it because I was a member of the United States for a while. So I went to the United States for a couple of times, and I also lived in Ireland for a year. So that's why your English progresses. But if you the educational thing is, yeah, we learn it at an older age than what they do right now, and they start here at I think the first grade already.
And you said eighth for you, right? Eighth grade?
Yeah, for me it was eighth grade. So it's they're dialing it down to a younger age, and it's really important too. It's
Yeah.
almost like you have two kinds of parents. You have an English parent and a Dutch parent, and they both learn it at the same time.
Okay. And do kids like learning English? I mean, do they see it as a practical thing or do they see it as a cool thing or
Yeah,
both?
I mean, it goes also both ways. It's practical, of course, because I like to watch the animated movies, like Disney movies. I like to play them in the original voices. My daughter was until now a really big fan of the Dutch voices because it's easier for her. But
Hmm.
now she's so proud that she actually can understand full sentences, and now she wants to see everything in English. So it's a little bit of being proud of uh, actually understanding it, and also she can speak it very well. It surprises me how well she can speak English at 9 years old. And when I was young, 9 years old, I couldn't get those sentences out of my mouth at all.
Oh, okay. And so kids are learning English really young. Are they using English though? Like, would they speak to would your daughter speak to her friends in English? Would she speak to you in English?
Yeah, she just for fun with her classmates, she speaks English. Also, my son, he's 14 years old. If he has like playing online with his friends, they all speak English because a lot of people speak English, of course, but they do it to each other as well. So it's just for practice, and it's really mind blowing how how far along those guys are. They're only 14 years old and they're speaking like a native already. So
Mhm.
it's really progressing through the internet and also YouTube and all those channels. They're learning a lot faster than we back in the day did. So. Uh, I think technology is a good thing. It has its bad sides, but for learning English, it's a really good thing.
For languages, it certainly is,
Yeah.
especially because you can get natural input, right? How people actually speak, not necessarily like just actors or whatever. Um,
No, but you can enrich your vocabulary with watching movies, or yeah, just, you can also watch reels or films on YouTube, of course, and then hear a word that you don't know, and then look it up, and then you can add it to your yeah your treasure. Well, like we say in Holland.
so would you say that English teachers are good? You guys have access to good English instruction?
Yeah, I think in the old days the English teachers were a little bit old school. I think nowadays a lot of English teachers are good, but there are a lot of frauds in there as well.
Oh.
They get the stamp of English teacher if you just sound like a native speaker and you adjust uh, your profile a little bit, yeah, then you can get a teacher's job if you want. If they do not check your diplomas and all those kind of things.
Hmm.
Uh, though, so not every teacher here in Holland is exceptionally really good teacher. I think a lot of children are better than the teachers here right now. But
Oh.
don't get me wrong. I mean, there are a lot of good teachers, of course. But my son is
Mm.
complaining that he can actually speak English better than his teacher. So that's not a good thing.
It's good for him though, because it just shows that you don't need a teacher or an individual with a certificate to pass on language. I think that's ridiculous in a way. If you think about it, we would have all fallen out of the evolutionary loop if that was a requirement to pass on language. You know, you just pass it on, right? And you learn it naturally through your parents or through media or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's also important. I think if a teacher is the only thing a teacher will be used for is the grammar and how to write in English. So it's if you have like a career in
Hmm.
the future in an international career, it's really important that you can actually write a good email to another person, which has no grammatical mistakes at all. So I think that's important as well. They can speak it, but they also have to learn to write.
Yes, that is true. And writing is really hard. I mean, writing something basic is not hard. Writing a text, you can probably do it. But writing a good professional email or that sounds good and you're using the right type of words and its tone, like the tone is appropriate, that's not easy. And of course, just one grammatical error is it's very it really is like it's flashing right in front of your eyes. You know what I mean? It's very jarring to say, or spelling errors or yeah. So it's something that people need to focus on. Is if you're going to do serious writing, you better read a lot. Otherwise, your writing is not going to be good. Even if the words are all correct, it still may not sound good.
No, it actually makes you sound dim-witted. I think you can lose a client over those emails if you do not write them in the correct way. You have to write them, and also the professional way, of course. Even the dots and the commas are really important as well. Uh,
Hmm.
and they're using your and your, the problems, using it in the wrong way,
Hmm.
So that's yeah, and also yeah, that's a big problem. And I see that a lot around in Holland as well. And they actually say that we can all speak English very well. I disagree. I think 30%, maybe 40% of the Dutch people can actually speak English very well. Then you can get the people that understand it, and they can actually make themselves. Yeah, how do you say that? Uh, they can actually explain what they mean, but it's
Oh, okay. They
it,
can get.
it's like it's like I'm gonna maybe it's over, and then they put in some Dutch words, and then and then you have to figure it out for yourself with some some
Okay.
fingers and hands, some footwork, maybe.
Yes, okay, I get it. Survival English. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, like that.
So, with English instruction being so prevalent in schools and it being pretty decent, do do people hire private teachers or tutors? Like, let's say if you come from a well-to-do family, would you hire a tutor for your kid to improve their English even further?
Yeah, it depends what he's going to accomplish in the future. But for my kids, I wouldn't do that because they're not saying that they're ready for the big world. But I think in the I think in the future they will do just fine for the things they wanted to do. I can understand that people will actually hire one of those, but then still, it's the question is, will it be a good one, and is it not a fake one? Uh,
Hmm.
it's a quick buck to earn as a private tutor, I guess. I think.
Right. Okay, so are your teachers typically natives or are they fluent non-natives?
Well, the ones I had, they were all native, just native Dutch people. So yeah,
Okay.
so there's no English, no real English teacher involved at all. A real native one.
You mean there aren't a lot of like Americans or Brits as teachers in the schools teaching
I
English?
think that the universities there are, but here the educations that we have, which I followed with the culinary school and the management training,
Uh-huh.
those were all just native Dutch people.
Mm,
And afterwards, I think if you go to the universities, there will be a lot of native speakers there too for every language, which will be like the good way to go, I guess. There are
hmm.
also really good teachers who are actually from the Netherlands that can actually teach as well. Those people exist, of course. But, yeah,
And
there are a lot of good people. There are also a lot of awful,
a lot of other.
fake people. So that's it. Yeah.
Oh, our university degree programs do they have entire programs in English? Is that pretty common, or is it about half half? Or
Yeah, you can follow. It depends on what. Do not know the fine of it, but a lot of colleges are doing everything in English. So
mm,
the whole education is in English. It's not just for the foreign students, but also for the native Dutch people. They're also completely in English. So
uh,
yeah, that actually improves it for them as well. But I've worked with a lot of people that went to the university and they had to do an audit with a big company, and I was chaperoning them as well. being like the team manager at this moment, and the woman started to talk, and it gave me the chills. I was like, oh my god, it's going to take forever, and I took over because her English was so bad. And I thought to myself, she went to a university and she doesn't know, yeah, she doesn't even know how to say what the machines are or what the processes in the whole company. So that was like really excruciating to hear, if you know what I
Des-
mean.
despite getting her degree in English, or where her program was taught in English, her degree program.
Yeah, she actually told me that she had a really high grade in English, but I couldn't hear it. So that's what
Oh,
the yeah, you can actually, a lot of people think they can speak English very well. I don't, I believe I can do it as well, but I have some problems and some difficulties in my in my way of speaking English, but still it's excruciating for a person for me to watch somebody fail miserably when they first told me that they were actually really brilliant in English. Maybe it was the
mm,
nerves that she had, but I didn't believe that after a while. So
that's the unfortunate thing about people who study English too much. They become so reliant on this idea that a certificate or a score on a test means that they can actually speak and use the English well and use it in a natural and native way, when that could be the furthest thing from the truth. I've heard people speak who they'll tell you, oh, I got an 8 or a 9 on the IELTS, and it's like, yeah, the words, everything sounds kind of academically, technically correct for the most part, but not much of what you're saying sounds natural. That happens a lot.
yeah, and they don't have the ability to, if you have like a witty thing to say, and they don't have a snappy comeback immediately because they have to overthink their reply to you as well. So that's the way you can actually define who is really good at speaking English and who is not really good at speaking English, if I know.
Well, I think also this has something to do with cultural immersion. So you can learn a language, but if you don't learn the culture, then it's kind of like, how like we all use AI a bit. So like, you ever have AI generate a picture and it looks okay, it looks pretty good, but then you look closer, you're like, what the hell is that? That's like when you don't learn the culture of a language, where it seems good on the surface, but then you go deeper and you're like, no.
No, that's not right.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and also, if you're immersed in the culture, you understand, like, you were talking about snappy comebacks. Yeah, you understand how to be witty, how to be funny, how to be sarcastic, but you can't be taught that. You have to consume media.
Yeah, that's also true, but you also have to practice your English every day. So, and you can watch your movies, you can read your books, and you can do everything you want. But if you do not speak this language every day or a couple of times a week, then it will be lost. I think in a couple of months, my English will decline into something awful. And if you speak it a lot, then it will remain like if you're talking to a native speaker. Not if that I'm a native speaker, but still, I have to practice every day to maintain this level of English.
And so you practice every day. You speak every day. Who do you speak English with day to day?
Well, I tried. I did it a lot on Clubhouse, of course. Sometimes I join a room, maybe once, twice a week,
Hmm.
just for an hour. And also have an uncle and my nieces from the States I speak sometimes with. So and that's come a couple of times a month. And normally, if I speak with my uncle, it's for like a couple of hours. So yeah, then your English will remain as
Yeah.
good as it is.
And like, just where you live, do you speak English with the people and the other Dutch people, or Dutch people don't do that? They don't speak English with each other.
No, we don't. Yeah, we make fun of fun of each other in English, and of course, yeah. Sometimes I talk English with a couple of people, and I have a friend here in Meppel. He's from the States as well. He's a professional musician, so we talk English as well. And oh, I forgot one of my friends is from actually from the States as well. He called Steven. I play disc golf with him, and he speaks English mostly as well. He can talk Dutch to me, but he struggles with it a lot. So it's easier for us to talk English with each other.
Hmm. Okay, that's good. So you are able to use it where you live. That's good.
Yeah, I try it as much as I can, and hopefully it's still as good as we had in Clubhouse back in the day.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And what about love of American media? Do you guys love American films? Do you love American culture?
It's not especially the love for. Yeah, the movies are one. Of course, a lot of good movies come from the States. I watched a lot of media, but it was back in the day with when Jon Stewart was still reigning the Daily Show. I believe
Hmm.
he's returning, if I'm not wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's where we get the political things from, of course, and we have like the snippets that comes from the states around the elections right now, and not really trying to follow that, but it's also really fun to watch that from time to time. But yeah, we love a lot of things from the states. There are also a lot of things we don't like. That's the fast food, of course, and it can be good. It can also be really bad for you. So.
Um, yeah. So, but just in terms of films and TV shows, you guys do like watching American shows and TV and movies.
Yeah, are you specifically aiming for one, or you just wanted to know
I don't,
which ones are really popular at the moment? Or
no, in general, just do the Dutch generally like.
yeah, I think that I don't know the exact number, but I can safely say it's around 80% that actually watches every uh, main mainstream series that is coming out of the states right now. So because they're really good from time to time. So. And everybody is talking about them. So you have to, if you follow those series, you really don't have to look at the social media before you watch the episode, else you will be spoiled. So yeah, a lot of people will do that.
Right. Thanks to Netflix, we're all sort of watching the same thing everywhere in the world.
Yeah, but we have a lot of other streaming facilities right now. So HBO is a really big one, as here in Holland as well. Disney, of course.
Hmm.
So it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's really yeah. I think every major American series is watchable here. So we are like normally in my time, like in the 80s, 90s, maybe in 2000s as well. If a movie came out in the States and I went to the States, I can watch the movie right away. And here in Holland, we had to wait for like 6 months after the movie closed in the States, and then it will come to Europe. And now it's almost simultaneously that we can watch the movies all around the world at once. And that was yeah, that's a big difference right now.
Hmm. Okay, cool. All right. I think we're good. You've given us a good view, a little idea of what it's like to learn English in the Netherlands. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
No, that's about it. So maybe we can have a conversation the next time, and maybe not. But we will see. We'll be, hopefully,
Yeah.
I give you enough information for now, and questions will rise again, of course. So, but it
Yeah.
was really fun to do.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Danny.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
Yeah, and everybody, thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. We're going to continue with this series of talking to people from all over the world about learning English in their country. All right, thank you so much, everybody. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button. Also, hit the bell and select all. That way, you won't miss any of our future videos. Thank you so much for joining. Once again, thank you to my guest, Danny, and see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye for now.